What's up guys, Kyle Bradshaw here. My buddy Gabe has a BMW R1200GS here. Today we're gonna be putting tires on this beast. I wanna show you really quick how to get the wheels off your bike so you can do a tire change using only 3 tools and the center stand that's on the bike and either a block or a log or whatever you have out there in the field. No jack is needed in order to make this tire change possible. The 3 tools we're going to use is going to be a 13mm socket. That's going to be to remove the caliper bolts here so we can get one side caliper off in order to get that front wheel off. The other one's going to be a T45. That's going to be the pinch bolts here in the front, and a T50 for the rear lug nuts. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to throw this bike up onto its center stand. Notice the way I parked this bike in the driveway. So when this bike goes up on the center stand on a flat surface, the wheel is going to hang off a sloped surface. That's going to give us more room in the back in order to do what we want to do. So up here you're going to see we have lots of room back below this rear wheel. It's going to give us all the room that we need in order to be able to get this puppy off. Now the reason that I did this is when we take the front wheel off, what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of weight here on the back, and then we're going to set the front of the motorcycle or the skid plate onto those yellow blocks right there. That's going to allow us to have the front wheel up off the ground. We're going to start with the front wheel. Now the front wheel doesn't have to be really high up off the ground. We just have to make sure it's up off the ground enough in order to be able to slip the wheel out. So now I'm going to tip the motorcycle back a little bit and slide these blocks under. Now once I get the wheel removed, I'm going to go ahead and remove a couple of those blocks and drop it down a little bit so the weight of the motorcycle is a little bit heavier up here on the front end. First thing we're going to do here is going to go to loosen, I should say. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, one more tool. Before I loosen that second pinch bolt, I'm going to remove this axle nut. So there's 4 tools. That 4 tool is going to be a 17mm socket. That's going to allow us to remove the axle bolt here. We're going to go ahead and leave that in, and I'll show you why just here in a second. Remove the other pinch bolt over here on the other side. I said remove, but that's really incorrect. We're just loosening these 2 pinch bolts. What these pinch bolts do is they actually pinch the bottom of this fork against the actual axle to keep it from spinning, number 1, and to keep it from actually falling out, number 2. So now that those 2 are loose, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here with our 13mm socket, and we're going to remove this brake caliper. And that's going to allow the wheel width to be able to slip through the caliper here. Once it's removed, slip through the forks. 2 caliper bolts. Yeah, I can just kind of get pulled out of the way. So the reason we left this bolt in here is we have the axle that's through this side over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that bolt to push the axle out this side so we can grab it and smoothly pull it out. So we're going to use this, push that through like that, and that's going to allow us to be able to get to it. Another way you can do it is you can take a socket and set a socket in there if you need to. I'm going to rotate it backwards a little bit. All right, so it looks like on this particular model we need to remove the caliper bolts on both sides of the motorcycle. All right, the front wheel is now removed. I'm now going to go ahead and take out a couple more of these blocks so the motorcycle is a little bit more rested in the back over there. Perfect. Now we have the weight of the motorcycle resting forward. It's going to be in a perfect position. Now what I typically do is I go ahead and throw these calipers back in place. And I just barely start these bolts just to make sure everything stays where it needs to be. Now over on this side, I'm gonna go ahead and put the motorcycle in gear. What that's gonna do, that's gonna lock the wheel so the lug nuts will be able to spin freely and easily. Just gonna go around and crack each one of these loose really quick. Once I've got them cracked loose, I'm gonna go ahead and take my socket with the extension, just pull each one of these out one by one. Okay, now that those 5 lug nuts removed, we're simply gonna pull the wheel towards us and massage it out of the wheel opening. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put these 5 lug nuts back in place. The reason that I do that is so they don't get lost, especially with little helpers like the one that I have behind me. They like to pick up any loose items and they like to put them in places they don't belong. For example, I was doing some work on my 1190 and my lovely son decided to drop one of my socket extensions down the end of the exhaust pipe. It was bad. Now that we have the 2 wheels removed, we're gonna take these tires down to the shop and get them spooned on. What we're looking at here is the Motoz Tractionator GPS tire. Now this is my favorite or my go-to 50/50 tire if you're looking for the most longevity and the best performing. So this has longevity up there along the same lines as that Heidenau K60 Scout, but you have much better wet weather traction. If you take a look at the actual tread depth on these, they're almost double that of the Heidenau Scout on the front. And then in the rear, you've got really, really good traction. Now a neat factor or feature of this tire here is we can actually mount this tire in 2 different directions. We have this direction for 50/50 and that direction for mostly off-road. Now the differences that you're gonna find in the tire, so right now this tire is facing you. This is the mostly off-road format. You're gonna notice that the blocks here are angled at that leading edge. So you actually have bite here and here. You have a leading edge that has an angle here forward. You have an angle here forward and you have an angle here forward. So those are gonna grip and grab into the dirt when you're in the mostly off-road section. Flipping this tire around, we now have facing you the 50/50 format. And what that's gonna do is these leading edges are all angled backwards now. So when you go into corners, it's going to gradually come in and around. It's going to be less noisy and have less vibration. Although I really haven't noticed any noise or vibration when I run these tires in the mostly off-road format, but that's the reason for the 2 different directions. Just the directional nature of the tread pattern here on the sides, giving you better traction off-road and a smoother ride on-road depending on the type of riding you're going to do. All right, let's get these tires mounted.